For 5 decades, Gloria Estefan's music has moved the world. This is Let It Loose, a Gloria Este-FAN podcast, the first fan-led show dedicated to her life, legacy, and impact. Lifelong Este-FANs, Carlos, Rob, and Wes explore the songs, moments, and stories that make Gloria an icon. If her music changed your life, then welcome home.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let It Loose. My name is Rob.
I'm Wes.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Noda.
And today we have a really special episode.
I'm so excited.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm not even going to give it up yet. I'm just going to spoil slightly that we are interviewing, and an interview, first of all, is big for us. We're just getting our feet on the ground.
Yeah.
We are interviewing Miami Sound Machine royalty, somebody who is a historic, pivotal member of Miami Sound Machine.
Can we give a little hint?
A little hint? Well,
hint?
I said we're just getting on our feet.
Ah.
That was a little bit of a hint.
I thought Carlos was going to start singing.
I was going to say, you say, I know it's a waste of time. There's no use trying. I've had way too much coffee this morning.
Look at him. Don't throw your back out before the interview.
You know that'll happen.
I know.
On today's episode, we're spotlighting one of the musicians behind the sound of Miami Sound Machine during their explosive rise in the 80s. Guitarist John DeFaria not only helped bring that energy to the stage alongside Gloria and Emilio Estefan, he also wrote one of Gloria's most iconic anthems, Get On Your Feet. Today, we're giving him his flowers and celebrating the role he played in shaping a sound that continues to move generations. Everyone, get on your feet and welcome John DeFaria.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for being here.
Welcome, John.
Gosh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. So appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. This means the world to all of us, as you know. But let's start with the interview. Can we start at the beginning?
Way back.
Did you grow up in Miami?
No, I didn't. I went to University of Miami. I went to the School of Music there. So I was up in Chicago at the time when I was a kid, and I actually went to another school up in Michigan for my senior year. It was like a music school for high school students. I was a double bass player, and he suggested I go to University of Miami. So I said, okay, I'll check it out, and sure enough, they let me. I think I applied to U of M, and I applied to University of Southern Cal, and I got into both of them. So I chose University of Miami at the time. That was a long time ago, when college was cheap. And I went down there, and man, just ate it all up. I mean, just that the school was amazing. I met all the guys that I play with in Sound Machine. They're still all my old buddies. And more,
Nice.
No, that's great.
And Gloria went to U of M as well.
Yeah.
She was. I think she was a philosophy major or something. I think so.
Yeah.
Psychology.
Yeah, psychology. Yeah. So it was during that time at at the university when you were were you a part of the band, The Company, or did that come later?
I was in school. That was the later part of my schooling. Like maybe I think my senior year or something like that. I got into that band, and they wanted it was a local band that was what can I say about them? They were working constantly. It was like it was such a gift because I was going to school and I was working 6 nights a week. I mean, the guitar never left my hand. It was it was here, 12 hours a day. And I was playing 12. It was such a huge gift because, I cut my teeth that way, just like constantly, playing music, just constantly sleeping and playing music. That's all I did back then.
Yeah. Wow.
So the company was already established when you joined?
They had been established. They came out of another band, the reason they're called The Company is because they used to be a band called Mike Gillis and Company. And Mike Gillis, who was an amazing jazz guitar player in South Florida, but he was a bit of a slave driver as far as a band leader. So eventually they diffused themselves from Mike, and now they needed another guitar player. You
Ah,
know?
I see.
So then they asked me to join, and the rest is history. We started, just doing local gigs, and we got pretty popular down in South Florida. We really did. We got pretty popular. We were working all the time. And of course, the interesting thing about that is Gloria had they were basically, Gloria and Emilio started as a local band.
right.
Yeah.
They started as, they were doing, I remember when Gloria and Emilio were doing weddings, and they were just doing the local scene. And then they got a hit in Europe, I believe. They got Dr. Beat, I think
Dr.
was
Beat,
their,
yeah.
Sure.
I think Dr. Beat was their hit in Europe. Okay.
Mhm.
And, it got them noticed. However, they were still a local band.
Yeah. Playing the weddings, the bar
Yeah, yes,
mitzvahs.
yes, and clubs and such. And we were another local band, okay? But not as successful as Emilio. Emilio, he's like crazy ambitious, and he put all, he got those records out to the right people, and spearheaded the career of that group,
It's funny because I have a note here that you've mentioned that the company was a great band, but that Emilio's group seemed to be landing many of the gigs, in Miami at that
Yes, they
time.
were. That's right.
What was that about? How was he landing, because you guys were performing at the same time, right? You guys were doing your thing. So how was he landing all these gigs?
Emilio has always had a gift for getting himself placed in great situations. He's always had an amazing gift about that.
Got it.
He's the reason why the band was so successful.
We hear about this time, about this era, the beginnings of Miami Sound Machine, and this decade in the 70s, in particular in the 80s, and it feels like lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways. It sounds like everything that you all were doing was really just unmatched to other contemporaries at the time. So,
Yeah.
what do you think set Emilio's approach out from other music directors, other band leaders at the time on the same scene?
Well, he just didn't stop. He was relentless.
Mm.
That was the Emilio
Mhm.
Estefan, kind of, that was his, MO. He was relentless. He never stopped. And you mentioned the Miami scene. The Miami scene back then, we didn't realize it at the time, but it was incredible what was going on down there. We had who else was down there that nobody really mentions? The Bee Gees were down there, and they
Yeah.
just had a enormous career. And they were still riding high. Okay, they had a studio down there called Middle Ear, which was an amazing place on Miami Beach, that I recorded in a number of times. But they were kind of like you couldn't get any more successful than the Bee Gees, really. The other guy that was down there who was getting a lot of success was a guy named Bobby Caldwell, who wrote a song called "What You Won't Do for Love." And actually there were a couple of other bands. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think who are the other. There were Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Casey and the Sunshine
Oh
Band,
my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Down there. So it really was a really interesting time. And of course, the other thing, of course, that's interesting about Miami in the early 80s is the freaking drug scene.
The drug
Yeah.
scene, yeah.
Dang, man. It was like I was working at the Mutiny Hotel in Coconut Grove with a guy named Willie Vega. And this is when I was in school. I was getting up, I was working till 3 in the morning, and I was getting up for like a 10 o'clock class. I was drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of Cuban, a lot of cafe con
A lot of
leche.
cafecito.
Yes, a lot of cafe con leche. And man, it was just, it was just an incredible time, really. I was working till gigs would go till 3 in the morning.
So it was
I'm,
around the clock.
it was
That's very
around
common
the
in
clock.
Spain.
Yes, well, I know Spain is like that. People
Yeah.
don't go out to dinner. people don't go out to dinner till 10:30.
Yeah.
I
I
just
know.
learned that, John. I just learned that last year when I went out. I was hanging out with Laura, and I'm here trying to coordinate a dinner, and I'm thinking, well, let's do about maybe 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock, and they were like, dinner at 7, 8 o'clock. What is that?
Siesta time. What are you talking about? I'm still out, for goodness sakes,
Wow, it really sounds like a perfect storm between the party scene in Miami and the music that was popular at the time and Emilio's work ethic that just, in
Yes.
in our opinion, gave Miami Sound Machine a little bit more of that edge.
Well, yes, let's face it, the Latin pop,
Yep.
genre was also something that people really were drawn to. There were, Miami it became more of a gateway to South America when I was there. When I first moved down there in like 78 or something like that, Coral Gables was a really sleepy little town. It wasn't as huge. It's funny. I was just back in Miami about a month and a half ago, and my gosh, that city has grown.
It
Gee,
has. It really has.
unbelievable. I mean, when I was there, like I said, it was, there was an enormous arrival of Latin American folks from all over the world that came to Miami. And you remember, Castro, the whole thing about the Marielitos,
The Marielitos, yep.
where
Yes.
Marielitos came over and were allowed to cross, the ocean to go to Miami.
Yep.
And they were welcomed in Miami. They were welcomed in Miami. I mean, I remember going over the 95, driving and seeing tents spread out
Mm.
underneath for recent arrivals
Yeah.
Wow.
to Miami. So there was an influx of people, and it really set the character and the mood of the town going forward. And that was like I said, that was the early 80s. That was like
Yeah.
I would say that was 81 or something. This is
That's
before I was involved with Gloria. But it was interesting how it was making such a transition.
So John, can you walk us through how you were discovered and how you joined
Sure.
Emilio and the group?
Absolutely, absolutely. We were at the time, company was playing in a club, and we were 6 nights a week. It was a place called Rick's Cafe American. And what happened is that, like Gloria and Media were starting to get radio play. They were starting to get hits not only in Europe but in the US. Okay. And they were asked to go on a variety of talk shows. They were asked by their record. They had signed to Epic Records. They needed to put together a freaking kick-ass touring band. That's what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They had all the they had a lot of momentum going, and they needed to get on the road basically. So they actually heard of us. We were kind of like the hotshot musician band in town, okay? And they had known about us for years. But they finally came out one night and we're in the audience and watched us do our thing for about, I don't know, about an hour and a half, something like that. And the next day, Emilio calls, I think Jorge Casas, and says, "Hey man, I want you and your guitar player and the keyboard player and the sax player come over to my office tomorrow." We went over to Emilio's office and he said, "I want to start a new band. I want you guys to be in it."
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And we were like, "Okay, sure, why not?" I mean,
So George Casas was with you in the company.
he was.
Mhm.
And
Nice.
Clay Oswald,
okay.
Clay Oswald was in the
Yep.
company.
Yep.
And our dear sax player Ed Kaye.
Oh,
Ed
wow.
Oh,
Ed
yeah.
Oh my
Kaye.
gosh.
Ed Kaye was kind of the guy. Ed had done some session work for Emilio, as I remember, and he was kind of the catalyst who got us, who introduced us to that opportunity, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hired, and of course that was a hell of a transition because we have a fabulous singer of our own, we have a fabulous drummer of our own, and it was rough and tough to, but of course we were thinking, okay, you guys, we're going to pull you along at some point in this situation. That's what we were thinking. And actually, the other person that was in our band was John Cicada.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah.
Juan Cicada, who was an
Wait,
old.
what?
Yeah.
John Sakata was
Yeah.
in the
He
band
was
too?
in the company. He was in the company.
Mhm.
What happened was is
Hmm.
that Ed started getting some other gigs. We wanted another singer in the band, and John was into it. John was scuffling back then. He was like doing whatever he could do, and we just became really, really close, good friends. We're still to this day just buds. But John was not invited to become Sound Machine he was one of the singers. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
God,
And,
okay.
and Emilio wanted the band. Okay. So sure enough, we got in the band and we started rehearsing with Gloria. And I think our first gig was some little club in New York. We did clubs for a while. We did but I saw the thing slowly start building. We went from clubs to like little theaters, like 2,500 seat theaters. They called them theaters in the round. It was like a small little venues. And then we graduated to larger theaters, and then we graduated to arenas. And it was just like it was a wave that we were riding, basically.
It's interesting because that leads me into my next question, which is once you join and began touring with Gloria and the band, um, was Let It Loose your first tour?
It was, yes.
Okay, that was the
Was.
first tour with the group, and
That
then
was the
so
first tour.
what,
Overseas. Yeah.
what was that experience like?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was amazing. We were overseas a lot. We went to Asia. We went to Europe, um, the States, of course, South America, everywhere. We went everywhere. It was I remember I just have great memories of
And
that
this
time.
is your first big tour,
Oh,
right?
certainly. I was all of 25, 26. I don't know. I get, I was just like a kid in a candy store. I thought it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, playing small clubs in Miami to going to arenas like that fast, man. I bet that was awesome.
Well,
What was that?
that
Uh,
transition, it didn't happen immediately. Like I said, it happened
Mhm.
over time. It happened, the smaller clubs to the arenas. I would say that was probably a 2-year process, really.
Mm,
For Gloria too, you know.
sure.
She the whole thing just became way more successful. The record started getting released and charting. And then of course we started doing, it was the video era. It was kind of the MTV era.
yeah.
Yeah, of
And we
course.
started doing a lot of videos, and so that just increased our presence. It just really was it just really took off, man. It was just amazing.
I was going to ask how personally how you experience that thing of becoming famous in that way.
Well, I don't know if I was famous myself. I mean,
But you're in the bubble and you're rising all
Yeah.
together. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I mean, it was super exciting. It was super exciting to be part of it. It was super, and the band was burning. Let me tell you, the band was hot.
John, but it's funny how, in your head you don't consider yourself famous or, what you just said. But for me, growing up watching these, during the video era,
Yeah.
your face, you are,
Mhm.
you were one of the faces of Miami Sound Machine.
Oh,
So
I know
that's
I
why for me, this
Yeah.
this interview is so important because I just see myself, this child, watching you on MTV, on VH1, with your guitar,
Yep.
and you are Miami Sound Machine,
and having a
Estefans.
blast on stage, and it shows in every one of your facial expressions, every
Mhm.
one of those moments that are burned in our brains.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Rob, because it's true. John
Yeah.
always looked like he was having the most fun out of everyone.
It's true.
I
That's
was having a lot of fun. I was having a lot of fun.
that.
And it's interesting. There were some interesting moments on the road too. Just some. There were some crazy moments too. I remember down in remember we were okay. So here's the transition between, you know, clubs and arenas. We were playing like a big dinner venue, a dinner club in Mexico City, right? And it was, I think we were there for like a week. We played like, I think 4 shows there or something like that. So we start playing the gig. We get down there, we start playing the gig, and the next night I got sick. I mean, you know, Montezuma's revenge, they call it. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
you go down to Mexico, you have a
Drink the
little bit of
water.
water, you have a little bit of this, the bacteria gets in your system, and you're just like out of it, you know.
Yep.
So I remember, so I was feeling it really, really bad the next day, and they sent, you know, they brought a doctor, and they said, well, we'll give him, I don't know what they gave me, but they tried to revive me basically, you know. So I got down to the, I got down to the lobby, but you know, in the elevator, slowly came down, got down to the lobby with the rest of the guys in the band, freaking passed out right on a chair, hit my head right on a chair. You know, of course, a tiny little head wound bleeds everywhere, right?
Oh no.
And
Oh
I'm
my
on the
God.
ground. I'm on the ground now, and it looks really bad.
Oh no.
You know? So what do they do? And this is, you know, we're 2 hours away from showtime.
Wow.
What do I do? You know, they throw me in an ambulance to take me to hospital, and you know, I had to get a little stitch right here. Of course, I missed the gig, and they had to just wing it,
Oh
you know.
Oh
no.
my God.
And
Wow.
then, but fortunately the next day was the day off, and then I was able to resume. You know, you know, I had a bandage right here. I was wearing a hat. You know,
Oh.
oh God, it was awful. It was awful. And you know, here's another thing that happened at that very gig too. The second to last night, the smoke machine. You know, we had these you know, smoke machines from Dry Ice. You know,
Hmm.
just for vibe on the stage and stuff. And it got crazy smoky. I mean, I was like, we're out there playing and it's crazy smoky. And I'm looking back at our roadies, and the roadies are going like, these Mexican cats had taken out guns and said more, you know, had the roadies said no more smoke, no more smoke. And they said no, more smoke, you know. And
What?
they had pulled
Whoa.
weapons, on our roadies.
No
Okay.
way.
Wow.
Why?
And we're in the front, you know, trying to do this show, and we're you know, we're doing entertaining, and we're looking at this like for our, you know, like, holy crap, what's going on here, you know.
Wow.
So that night, you know, I remember having a meeting with Gloria and the rest of the band. We're like, man, we should get out of here, you know, maybe we should just get out of here, you know. We had like, I think 2 more gigs to play or something like that. And then you know, Gloria and Emilio, you know what, let's just finish this out and not cause any waves. And so that's what we did. We played the last 2 nights there, and just
And hauled ass.
after that. That's just one in a lot of stories that happened on the road, you know. But
You know, I do want to ask, so as the group began working on the Cuts Both Ways album,
ah,
you wrote several songs. I know that there was several songs that you wrote for
yeah,
that album, but
yeah,
only
yeah, I was.
one made the final cut, which
Yeah,
was the famous Get
yeah,
on Your Feet.
yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind that song?
Oh, wow. What was the inspiration behind that song?
I
Well,
know
you
that
know,
was a million years ago.
it's amazing how it became her anthem for getting back on her feet, because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
she, uh, you know, not, you know, I couldn't believe it, but her accident happened like a year and a half later, you know, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
became Get On Your Feet tour because of her accident. She wanted to, like, you know, say that she was back in action. But prior to that, you know, I just wanted something kind of, I was writing a lot of songs, and I remember I just wanted something, you know, kind of anthemic, you know, something that was just like a real. I wanted a song that would go over great live. That's what I was shooting for. Something that's like, okay, audience, get on your feet, right?
Yep.
That's
Exactly.
I think what I was going for was I was thinking about the audience, and I was thinking about a positive message out to the audience, that she could sing. That's what I was thinking.
And
Now,
Yeah.
what a song that is live,
Yeah.
especially with you on that guitar.
yes, I know.
Oh,
Yeah, the intro.
hands
Everyone.
down,
When, when
just
when Emilio heard me do that intro, he went, "Okay, finish. Yeah, finish that song." You know.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
That,
yeah.
that's my all-time favorite album and will always will be.
The
It's
Cuts
a
Both Ways
yeah,
record was amazing. It was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
That was what got me into my dad loved the horn section. That was what, and that's
Mhm.
how I became a fan. Like that CD was on all the time when I was a little. I was
Awesome.
7 or 8 years old when that came out. So
Amazing. I
yeah,
know, right?
yeah.
I know. I know. It's
I think
incredible.
Don't Wanna Lose You was the first song I heard from her.
Hmm.
Okay, and that one was off that record as well. That was her
Yep.
first. Let me see. Anything for You was her first number one.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that really just changed things for all of us. It changed things for her and for us. The venue sizes increased, the opportunities increased, um, um, and that really signaled the. I think I remember we were in Europe or something like that, and we came back and she was number one. She was number one in the States,
Yeah.
and it just made everything different from
Yeah,
then
she
on.
told this story. You guys were on tour that she remembered hearing about it going to number one, like getting off of a plane or something like that. I
Yeah.
do remember telling that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Back then, news didn't travel as fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were no cell phones or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
You couldn't get information that quick. So, it took a moment to find the information. But yeah.
Aside from writing that song, Get on Your Feet just seems like such a fun song to play as a musician. Do you have any other songs that like you remember just loving to play live on the
Oh,
gigs?
from her? Oh, I loved a lot of the tunes. Gosh. I always thought 1, 2, 3 was a great song. I thought that song was just such a well-crafted pop song.
Yeah.
And Kiki Garcia wrote that. With Gloria. And Kiki was a gifted songwriter. He came up with Conga, and he finished it with Gloria. He was just such a gifted songwriter. I think uh, he needs more credit actually, because I think he contributed immensely to the success of the group.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I get
Absolutely.
that. With Conga, I know that he's credited as the writer. Did you just mention that Gloria co-wrote that with him?
Yes, I believe that's true. Yes.
Oh, okay, because I know
He's
that
on
the
the credit.
credits only show him, but I
Oh,
feel like I've heard her mention that I know that she had the idea, or
She had the
her
idea.
had the
Yeah.
idea, but
yeah. Right. They wanted a song about a Latin rhythm, which was cool. Make it a pop song, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I wasn't around when that song was written, but wow. Great, great. I mean, that's their anthem right there,
Yeah,
right? Conga.
absolutely.
That's her anthem.
Yeah, she talks a lot about Conga and Rhythm is Gonna Get You. I
Sure.
think they both wrote Rhythm is Gonna Get You. She said we actually finished writing Rhythm is Gonna Get You in Kentucky on a
Oh,
tour bus. Yeah.
really? Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Most of the songs were written on a tour bus.
Yeah. Yep.
I
Yep.
wrote I wrote "Get on Your Feet" on a tour bus with a drum machine and my guitar. I I,
Yeah.
I, I
nice.
remember sitting on the couch, and we're driving somewhere, and I've got my headphones on, and I've got this drum machine and my guitar, and I'm just like, okay, this will work, this will work,
Yeah.
kind of. So the other song that I loved from Gloria was a song called "Words Get in the Way."
Hmm.
I thought that
Oh,
was a
it's
great song
beautiful.
too.
Yeah.
I thought the lyric was so good. That's a great
And
idea
the
to come
way,
up
yeah, and the way that you guys performed it for the Let It Loose
Homecoming
tour,
concert.
the
Yeah. I
homecoming
was.
concert,
Yeah, yeah,
that
we did.
arrangement
Yeah,
and stripped
yeah,
down.
yeah, stripped down. Yeah, we decided to, like, a little intimate moment in the middle of the show, like high energy, and then we wanted to bring it down and do more of like a short acoustic set. Uh and that worked really well. George Cassis was a master arranger.
Mhm.
George taught me about um he taught me about we called him Mr. Ending, because he would come up with an ending for every because when you take a track that's on a record and you put it in a live format, okay, you do have to change the arrangement around a little bit. You want to take that song and make it come alive in that kind of format. And most of the time on a record, the track fades out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't do
Especially
that
a
live.
ballad.
Can't do that live.
Right.
So you have to have an ending.
Yeah.
And George, we called him Mr. Ending because he came up with every single ending for every single song.
Wow.
Live. And so, and we translated those records to a live show. So in other words, for conga, let's say, we'd play the tune, but then we would open it up a little bit, because we wanted it to last a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
We wanted to milk the audience as much as possible.
yeah.
So, let's turn it into like let's give the, Teddy a long trumpet solo, and then let's go to percussion, you know what I mean? And then let's change the rhythm a little bit, you know what I mean? Before we go back to the original song, let's go deep into something where we take the audience on a little ride, and see what they, kind of almost surprise them in a way, which I think it's very entertaining to see that in a live band. I like to go see a
Yeah.
live band. I like to think, oh, well, they're taking their songs but they're translating it into something live.
Absolutely. And I think that you guys were masters at that.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
George was a master. I learned all about it from George.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, I mean the
yeah,
arrangements, because they were different. They were different from the actual recordings, but it just seems like
yeah.
you guys just amplified it, and took it to a whole other level. And I think that's why you guys were such a successful touring group, because it was
Yeah.
just amazing. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see, these tours I was too little and too poor, but but even looking at these tours now, it's just amazing to see, what you guys accomplished and what you guys created. It's still amazing to hear to this day.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. Yeah.
See, I want to ask you later toured on the Get on Your Feet tour and the End of the Light tour. Was there ever a moment when where it really hit you just how big this became?
Oh, sure, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess
Yeah.
that's different from when you guys were doing the smaller venues into Let It Loose, because Let It Loose was pretty big, right? But then
Yeah.
from Let It Loose to Get on Your Feet and Into the Light, that's just like this whole other
Yeah,
monster, I'm assuming, right?
You're on
yeah,
the
I would
mountaintop,
say
really.
post Cuts Both Ways, it was the biggest it had gotten. Yeah, Into the Light, we did that tour too, and it was yeah, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Into the Light was after the accident.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, we had yeah, so the bus accident was pretty horrific. We were all up I remember we were all up at in Syracuse. We were waiting. I think Gloria and Emilio had a dinner in New York City the night before. So we had all come up like like 2 days prior. We were all waiting, and I remember it was when it was like there was snow on the ground. I mean, I don't remember exactly what time of year it was. I know it was probably toward winter sometime, or like maybe pre-Christmas or something like that. We were up there, and her bus got they had to pull to a stop on the freeway, and then they got rear-ended, and Gloria was the only one in a asleep on a bunk. She got thrown. Everyone else in the bus was able to brace because they were awake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
but Gloria was just thrown. So awful, awful.
Yeah, you guys were playing and gonna play Syracuse, and
We were.
actually from Syracuse, I think it was in March. You were going to Columbus, Ohio. My dad actually had bought tickets to that concert. So
Oh my
I
gosh.
remember him, I was only seven or 8 years old at that
Oh my
time. And
gosh.
I remember him telling me, coming home saying, "Hey, the show's canceled because of this." And that's
It was.
probably, well, that was leading into my next question. Do you have a favorite show or a favorite standout memory from that time?
I mean, I will say this. Whenever we would do like an award show or something,
Mm.
I mean, it was like a who's who, I mean, we went over and did the British Music Awards, and it was and we did it at Royal Albert Hall, and it's just a who's who of pop stars in the place, and I mean, it's just so impressive to be
Wow.
there with all these amazing musicians. And of course, the same thing, doing the Grammy Awards. And of course, I must say the other thing that we were very, good at we did the American Music Awards a number of times. That show we actually were the opening act, and then there was a couple of times. The first time we did it, we were the opening act, and it was it was quite a performance. And then we came back the next year and did something again. I forget what it was, but it was always just. I mean, it's in LA. It's just, I mean, so many amazing I mean, I just can't start, there's so many incredible artists that were part of that era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I mentioned previously, when fans think of Miami Sound Machine, certain names stand out, right? So
Right.
we got George Casas, Clay Oswald, Skaggs,
hmm
Teddy, of
hmm
course you.
Yeah.
What was it like performing with that group of musicians?
Oh, those guys are, they're my brothers. They've always been my brothers. They've
Which I
all be my brothers.
So
And
you
I'm,
still keep in contact with all of them?
oh, yeah, of course.
Uh,
Absolutely. We talk occasionally, absolutely. In fact, I was down in Miami just and like I told you, I went out to dinner with John with Cicada.
Mhm.
We got some food, and we got some drinks, and we just hung out with Randy Barlow, myself, John
Oh,
Cicada. Oh,
Randy.
and then my buddy Tim Mitchell, who is currently the guitar player with Shakira. Well,
Yeah.
that's a total offshoot of Miami Sound Machine is Shakira, right? I mean, 'cause
Yeah.
Right.
I remember Shakira as like this, little Colombian girl who, what does she do?
Yeah.
But now she's selling out freaking stadiums.
Yeah.
I saw the show out here. I saw the show at SoFi. She was, I came, Tim invited us out, so we went out to see the show. I mean, 70,000 people,
Major.
Incredible.
Yeah.
2 nights, 70, selling out a show for 70,000 people. Whoa, that's some, that's some success right there.
And it's a long show too.
It is. Yeah.
But earlier you had mentioned that Get on Your Feet kind of became emblematic of Gloria and her life and her career. But as far as your involvement with the song, you received an ASCAP award for that song.
Thank
And
you.
then
It's right, it's hanging right over there. It's
that's
right
a
over there.
major deal. Like not everybody has that. People write songs all the time, but to be
I
recognized by
know.
your peers is a major thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
that means that the song and you yourself have a legacy, but also the title of the song became the title of a Broadway musical. So like
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
you're sort of baked into the career of the Estefans. And
I am.
what does that legacy of that song and your involvement mean to you?
Well, it's so interesting how that whole process happens because when you write songs, it's a very intimate process. You're just by yourself. You're not thinking about you're just thinking about craft.
Mhm.
And so you go from this little tiny seed, to okay, so now let's demo it and put, get it produced properly. So that happens, right? And then, Gloria and Media go, yeah, we want to put this on the record. And like, oh, okay, that's great. So another tier, right? Wow, that happens. Okay. So I got a song on the record. Awesome. You know what I mean? And then 6, 8 months later, I'm driving on 95, going past the Miami airport, toward, and it freaking comes on the radio. I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
What?
Major.
It's a single now? I mean, I didn't, I, you know, I didn't know it would be a single. I thought, okay, it's an album cut. Great. Wonderful. I'm lucky to have an album cut,
You didn't know that song was going to be a single?
No, I had no idea.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
They didn't
No
tell you.
idea.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
none of us did. No, the record company like goes, okay, this is I think "Don't Want to Lose You" was the first single off
Yep.
the record, right? And then I think "On Your Feet" was the second one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
It's been
it
so
was.
long.
But you
But
feel it while you're writing it that you got a hit. Do you or do you not?
I mean, listen, listen. Whenever I try to write a song, I try to write a hit.
It's always the goal,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
so I think all my songs are hits.
Right.
I mean, if I'm going to try, I'm going to go for broke here.
Absolutely.
So I have to ask, John, at what point in time did you decide to leave the Miami Sound Machine, and what led you to that decision?
Okay, so what I wanted to do, so yeah, so after what, 8 years or something, I really wanted to get into, I was starting a family and I really wanted to get into writing for television and film. That was my desire.
Mhm.
And my wife and I, Shelley and I, had moved to, actually, uh, after Gloria's accident, we had almost a year off. Okay.
Mhm.
So I went back to Miami, and my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we decided, hey, let's go to LA and just, I had a lot of connections out there. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I mean, was Gloria going to be okay? That was a
Mm.
question. That was
Right.
actually that was
Of course.
actually an
Yeah.
actual question back then. I just wanted to, kind of pursue my career. I was still a very young person, and I wanted to pursue my career. And so Shell and I moved to Los Angeles, and it was amazing. And I got involved with the community out here. I did start doing session work out here. I started doing some writing, um, and that led me to other things. So finally, when Gloria decided to go back on the road, I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. But I was also being pulled in this other direction as well. So I did that tour, and I think after that, I decided to focus full time on my future, I guess. I mean, for a guitar player being on the road, it's wonderful, it's amazing. But I knew that there was kind of like I knew I had to transition. I'm a big believer that all musicians over periods of time have to kind of reinvent themselves. And I think reinvention happens, I think actually every human being has
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
reinvent themselves occasionally. There comes a point in your life where you go, okay, what's next? You got to turn that chapter, turn that page. Um, so that was my desire. It was to move in that direction.
You worked with a lot of great people beyond Gloria and
Yeah.
Emilio. You've
Yeah.
collaborated with Phil Ramone,
Oh
George
yeah.
Duke,
Yeah.
David
Oh yeah.
Foster,
George Duke.
Wow.
Yeah. 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 I was in Foster's studio a couple of times. Yeah.
Kenny Loggins.
Oh yeah. Well, I worked with Kenny for like 7 years.
Yeah.
That was
Incredible.
a great opportunity for me. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also recorded for those like movie scores and television
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
started doing a bunch of that. And at the time, this was back in the mid 90s. At the time, that was kind of a hot industry, and it still is. I mean, we could go off on how the industry has changed since I was in Sound Machine. I was with Gloria not too long ago, a number of years ago now, actually. I went out. She was here in LA, and I went out to see them rehearse and stuff like that. I hung out with them all day, and Gloria said to me, "Do she said, man, the night. Remember CDs? And
Oh my God.
there was so much. That was such a great era, and she also said, man, I mean, there was a lot. There was just more money in the in that in
Oh
that
yeah.
in that in
Yeah.
that world than there is today. Now, I actually think that's good and bad, because there was, you've heard, of course, the name corporate rock, the term corporate rock, right?
Yeah.
It's because all these bands were making so much cash that all these companies wanted to get involved too. And
Interesting.
Pepsi, we did a Pepsi commercial,
Oh
okay,
yeah. I remember
Classic.
that.
as Michael Jackson did, and
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pepsi wanted to appeal to different demographics, and certainly Glory was a perfect demographic for them to appeal to, the Latin, American demographic.
You did a couple Pepsi commercials. I still have
Yes,
the tour books with the
yes,
Pepsi stuff in it.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
when
yeah, we
you guys
did.
did like the photo shoot where you're dressed up in, I don't know, like in school clothes or something like
Right,
that. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
were we were like
I
we were like elementary school teachers
yes,
or
yes.
something crazy like that.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. So
I remember that.
John, you clearly have not slowed down. What was life after Miami Sound Machine?
Well, like I said, it was getting into more of a background situation with me, getting into working with production companies, working with out here. I worked with Oprah's company for many years. I did stuff for, CNN. I did a bunch of documentaries, and I loved it. I loved doing that kind of composition and recording and stuff. I really dug it. And also the other good thing is it kept me home while I was
Mhm.
raising my three boys.
Yeah.
I didn't have to get out on the road.
Yeah.
So I liked that aspect of it too. I could lead like kind of a very more of a traditional family life
And
without.
Gloria's always said that that was always tough for her being away from, the family
Sure,
life. Yep.
sure. She was devoted to her kids.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
have I have a fun story.
Yeah.
Being with my parents at their home, and they were watching a movie on the TV, and at the end with the credits, I saw your name, and I was like, John DeFaria. We're
Oh.
like, what?
Oh,
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great.
yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I
John,
don't remember the title, but it was a love movie, I think.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So at this stage, John, is there anything left you still hope to accomplish?
Oh, I am slowing down. I must admit, but I'm still a kid in a candy store as far as
Mm.
music is concerned. I'm surrounded by instruments, and I'm practicing more than ever. I'm practicing a lot of guitar, and I'm trying to mentor more, actually. I'm working with a great organization out here called Society of Composers and Lyricists,
Mhm.
and we're doing a lot of mentorship, a lot of seminars, a lot of live events in Los Angeles. I'm the Song Arts Committee chairman, and so I've taken that role on, and it's just fun. I just love commiserating with younger folks who are coming up and trying to do it as well. I'm a big believer in giving back to the community, to the music community, basically.
Well,
Uh,
John, I think that you should give back, keep practicing, and give
yes, sir.
back by making an appearance at some venue, some show with Gloria, even if it's
Oh,
just for Get on Your Feet. We need one, at least
you know what?
one.
You know what? Yeah, you're right, actually. Wouldn't it be fun
I
Yes.
would
to do
listen.
that?
I'm going to tell you right now, if you get on stage,
I
and
will.
even
I
if
will
it's
mention
just for
that.
Get on Your Feet, I will lose my shit.
No, no,
I'm just
here we
letting
go.
you know
will.
now.
I will mention that when I talk to Sakata and when I talk to Clay again. I will mention that.
I,
I will
I
say. I would say this is. What do you think, guys? What do you think?
maybe this will
Gloria.
spark, something.
Wouldn't it be, wouldn't it
But
be crazy to have like a reunion, like a couple of gigs where we do a reunion thing? You know what I mean?
People would go insane.
people
People
will
That
would
go
would be
absolutely go
insane.
insane.
That original band.
Literally.
Hands
Of course.
down,
I mean, of
hands
course,
down.
unfortunately we lost George, who was George was our anchor. He
Hmm.
was
Mhm.
he was always the most diplomatic musician I've ever met. George Cassis, even in the company when he was our the reason the company was so successful was because of George Cassis, because George Cassis also knew how to get great gigs. And he taught me, I mean, he taught me so much. And I'll always remember all the amazing things he taught me. Um,
It's
uh,
beautiful, the relationship that you guys, yeah, it was clear that you guys had a great relationship because
yeah,
Yeah.
it showed. It
yeah,
showed and we could hear it as
yeah,
well.
mhm,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so we do have to ask because we are going to wrap up. But
Yes, sir.
for the fans that want to stay connected, where could they follow you or keep up with what you're doing?
Oh, I'm on social. I've got a website, johndefaria.com, and I'm on social. I've got lots of videos on my gram. My
On
my
your group?
son,
Yeah.
my son is an internet. He's like a social media marketer in Brooklyn, by the way, Wes.
Hey.
Uh, uh, he's always on me, Dad. You got to post this, you got to post that. He's always telling me what I have to do as far as like
That's awesome.
getting stuff out there, and I do believe in it. I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on. You can hear my music on Spotify. You can yeah, social media me, website me. I'm out
Awesome.
there, and I'll respond. I'm
Awesome.
down.
Yeah,
Well,
that's awesome.
we've reached the part of the show where we invite our guests to let it loose. Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners who are also huge fans of yours?
Is there anything I'd like to share? I'm happy to take questions. Here or if you want to social media me, like I said, you have any questions, please get in touch with me. I would love to hear about your experiences and see what you're up to, and if I can, like I said, I'm kind of in that mentorship mode now. So yeah.
John, you have no idea how happy all of us are, how
Oh,
happy
Yeah,
everyone will be when this
Mhm.
episode drops, because you
fantastic.
really are, uh, you're someone that was part of our life growing up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
yeah.
So to be able to sit here with you today and for you to be so gracious with your time and to
Oh, it's a pleasure.
share all these amazing stories, this I could go ahead and check this off. This is something that
A bucket list.
it's
Yep.
definitely a bucket list item. So
Awesome.
thank you
So
so
happy.
much for spending the time with us today.
Absolutely. It's an
Yeah.
honor and a pleasure. I
Yes.
really
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much.
Thank you. We
This is
appreciate
great.
it. Thank you once again to our guest, John DeFaria. This week, what a dream come true. What a bucket list item for all of us. We're going to be celebrating all things John DeFaria this week on the podcast, all over social media. So share with us your favorite performances, your favorite music videos, anything related to John, because we're all John all the time this week on the podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review. Press all the buttons on your phone. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, all about Let It Loose. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Now we just need John here doing the
Uh-huh. That's right.
Thank you for listening to Let It Loose, a Gloria Este-FAN podcast. Let It Loose was produced by Carlos, Rob, and Wes, with graphic design by Lara. Thank you to Gloria for bringing us all together. Subscribe, rate, and share the love, and join us next week for a brand new episode.